Оны 12 сарын 29-ний өдөр. Энэ өдөр бол Монгол түмний баяр бахархлын өдөр гэлээ. Энэ өдөр бол Монгол улс тусгаар тогтнолоо дэлхийд дахинд тунхаглан зарласан өдөр юм аа. Өнөөдрийг хүртэл тусгаар уршиж байгаа энэ их үндэс энэ өдөртэй шууд холбоотой байдгийн. 500 мянган хүн амтай монголчууд ялангуяа дэлхийн их гүрнүүд өсчихсэн дэлхийг дахин хувааж байх энэ үед цөөхөн хүн амтай энэ монголчууд хэрхэн яаж одоо тусгаар тогтносон түүх бол маш сонирхолтой байдаг юм аа.
We, Mongolians, are people with long historical tradition of statehood. A great philosopher George Hegel once said that history begins from the Oriental world, particularly with the Mongols. He claimed that it was because the Mongols had a state and it still exists. The Mongols are a nation who established a nation-state in the steppe of Central Asia and eventually their great empire, stretching from Asia to Europe in the world. Because of the law of nature in history, they began to split and eventually fractured into three parts: Inner Mongolia, Outer Mongolia, and Buryatia in the end of the 17th century. And the Great Mongol Empire has gradually disappeared from the world maps. When the nomads of Mongolia, who once ruled the world, became weak and gradually declined, they had no choice but to submit to Qing dynasty instead of coming under the rule of Russia, a nation with different culture and customs. This submission to the Qing as a vassal was a Mongolian state policy to preserve its ethnic identity.
Манжиг яагаад сонгох болов гэдэг асуудал. Энэ сонгосон асуудлаар бол богд хааныг бол урагч гэж түүхэнд олон удаа ярьж ирсэн. За энэ асуудлыг бол өнөөдрийн өндөрлгөөс ингээд эргээд хараад ингээд дүгнэхэд бол манж бол нүүдэлчин ард түмэн. Ялангуяа 60 аймгийнхан 5 аймаг нь одоо монголчууд байдаг. За ингээд одоо нүүдэлчнээс гадна аж ахуй, соёл, бусад одоо бүх юм адил учраас 500 мянга хүрэхгүй энэ монголчуудаа үндэстнийх нь хувьд авж үлдэх бодлого байжээ гэдгийг одоо бид дүгнэж хэлэх бүрэн одоо эрхтэй байгаамаа.
After the assembly that the three Halkh rulers declared themselves Qing vassals at the Dolonur Lake in 1691, the nobles of Halkh Mongols had focused on three matters: to protect their lands, conserve national identity of Mongolians, and to have a nation-wide accepted Han or ruler. To achieve these goals, the reincarnation of first Bogd Zanbazar had to be installed and fully recognized as their spiritual leader until Mongolians declared their independence and he is accepted as a Han or ruler. They thought that having own Han or king would be a significant part of independence, and they adhered a strong and stable policy to maintain a good reputation for all reincarnations of Bogd Javtsandam Khotugt, ever since the first Bogd Zanbazar, and get them accepted by everyone as monarch.
1600 оны сүүлчээр Монголд хаангүй болчоод тусгаар тогтнолоо алдчихад мөхлийн замд орж явахад Халх Монголын ноёдууд нэгэн сонин санааг шийдсэн байдгийг. Энэ бол юу гэхээр хаантай болох бодлогыг барьсан байдаг. Энэ бодлогын үр дүнгээр бол богд гэж тодорсон. За энэ богд бол санаандгүй биш. Ялангуяа алтан ургийн ялангуяа нэр хүндтэй ийм хүнээр тодруулах ёстой байлаа. Анх дугаар богд явсан дам бол өөрийнхөө амьдралыг Монголын тусгаар тогтнол энэ төрийн мөнх орших энэ их үйлсэд зориулсан байдаг юм аа.
At the beginning of the 20th century, Mongolians could declare their enthroned king and managed to successfully keep their territory and ethnic identity although they were under foreign rule. Even they asked international community to accept the Mongolian independence in accordance with the established international law or internationally recognized Bluntschli law. This was the legal basis of Mongolian Declaration of Independence and Sovereignty.
За 20 дугаар зууны ихэнх үе болоход дэлхийд дахин хууль олон улсын хууль дүрмүүд бол гарч ирсэн. За ингэж гарч ирэхэд бол тусгаар тогтнолд бол томоохон шалгуур тавих болсон. Энэ бол Швейцарын одоо хуульч блүнчлийн одоо хуулиар бол хаантай, үндэстэнтэй, газар нутагтай одоо ийм ард түмнийг тусгаар улс гэж хүлээн зөвшөөрөх тухай хуульчилсан байдаг.
Even though 8th Bogd Javtsandam Khotokt was Tibetan, they could convince people that he, as the real reincarnation of the first Bogd Zanbazar, was the direct descendant of great Han Chingis' golden lineage. As a result, he was unofficially recognized not only by Khalq Mongolians, but also by all Mongolians as the Han of Mongolia.
Энэ үед монголчууд манжийн одоо байдлыг гэрхаагаар олж харж, ялангуяа дэлхийд дахинд хувьсгалт үйл явц гарах боломжийг бүрдсэн байна гэж ингэж үзээд юуны түрүүнд тусгаар улс байгуулах энэ бодлогоо хэрэгжүүлж эхэлсэн байдаг. Үүний хамгийн том анхны алхам бол 1900-д Богд хааны элч төлөөлөгч, Монгол хааны элч төлөөлөгч Орос орныг зорьсон явдал байдаг юм а.
Several other big nations gradually expanded across the world in the middle of 19th century, while Qing dynasty were experiencing severe internal crisis. Mongolian nobles and high-ranking lamas realized that the time of independence was nigh, and thus they began to plot against the Qing government to regain their sovereignty. To do this, they needed weapons and funding. Also, support from a great power was inevitable. In the end of 19th century, it was clear that the fall of Qing empires is imminent. Realizing this, the nobles and high lamas led by Bogd Javtsandam decided to send a secret mission to the Russian government, asking for its support for Mongolia's independence. The Bogd Javtsandam Khotokt sent Dalam Batamdorj and Seven Tsirngosir as his representatives, who delivered a diplomatic note and gifts to the Russian Tsar for assistance in 1900s. This document of petition reads, "Because our Mongolia originally had been an independent nation prior to submitting to the Manchu Emperor Kangxi or in 1691, we have now decided to establish a new state based on our old tradition to be independent from Qing Empire. To do so, we're asking support from Russia." In the petition, they requested Russia to help with military assistance like weapons in time of need and support for fixing the Great Wall of China as border between Mongolia and China. Russians accepted this request with open arms and recommended to unify Mongolians in secret until the time comes. They treated the emissaries led by Dalai Lama with utmost respect until they return.
500 мянган хүн амтай монголчууд тусгаар тогтно гэдэг бол үнэхээр бэрхшээл байсан. Гэтэл 200 жилийн өмнөх бодлого бол үүнд бол тулгуур болж өгсөн юм аа. За ингээд бол 20 дугаар зууны өхөн үед Манж улс үндэстнийхээ хувьд мөхөж эхэлсэн. За энэ мөхсөн явдал бол юутай холбоотой байсан бэ гэхээр бол Манж улс нь бол Хятадын хэл соёл бүхий л одоо ёс заншлыг хүлээн авч хэрэгжүүлж эхэлснээр бол мөхсөн байдаг.
In the 1908, Qing authority made a drastic change in its policy toward Mongolia, which was in effect ever since 1700s, and allowed Chinese peasants to settle in Mongolia for farming. This was a breach of the early agreement between Mongolia and Qing Empire, creating a legal basis for the opposition and uprising. Khalq nobles who were waiting for this opportunity asked the Bogd Gigeng to issue a decree in 1909. It states, "It is now time for us to think of how to promote Mongolia's religion and statehood, protect our land, and live for the long term in peace and happiness. If we miss this time, we will have to suffer a great deal and will be unable to control our land, much less foregoing lives of happiness. If I do not remind you of this, in spite of my knowledge, there is no use for the Mongolian nation to have venerated my 8 reincarnations. I, therefore, cannot but advise you. You, nobles and officials, think well concerning the way forward, and let me immediately know of your views and opinions during the Danshuk Offering Festival in the summer next year. Then I shall tell you my full intention."
Энэ лүмдэнгийн дагуу 1910 онд Монголын ихс дээдс хурамчруулж богд хаантай нууцаар уулзсан байдаг. За ингэхэд бол одоо тусгаар улс байгуулах цаг нь ирсэн гэдгийг хэлж, ялангуяа аймаг шавь бүх газраас дөрөв төлөөлөгчдийг томилон ирүүлэх ийм одоо шийдвэр гарсан байдаг. Энэ бол өөрөөр хэлбэл тусгаар тогтнолын төлөөх тэмцэл нь зохион байгуулалттай хэлбэрт бол шилжсэн анхны алхам байдаг. Энэ зохион байгуулалттай хэлбэрт шилжсэн бас нэгэн юуг манжийн одоо нөхцөл байдлыг турших гэсэн нэг үйлдэл бол энэ 1910 онд болсон 10 оны 3 сард болсон лам нарын хөдөлгөөн байдаг.
To lure out the Sando Ambang, or viceroy of Qing Empire, seemingly innocent arguments sparked the brawl between the Chinese and Mongolian monks. When Sando arrived at the place to make arrests, the lamas pelted him and his troops with stones, forcing them to withdraw. Sando demanded the Javzendam Hotukt to punish lamas believed to be the ringleaders of the incident. The Hotukt refused and protected them. With the Qing dynasty tottering on the verge of collapse, the Mongolian nobles and high-ranking lamas met again in July 1911 in the Hure under the pretext of performing the Danshuk offering to the Bogd Javzendam and discussed how to oppose to the new Manchu policy course of colonization and restore Mongolia's independence. It was decided during the noblemen's secret meeting to send another delegation to Russia, the northern neighbor, to kindly explain Mongolia's situation and seek assistance. Chinwang Hantorch, Da Lama Tsirinchimit, and the official Haiseng as emissaries left the Hure in secret with their companions on July 16, 1911, and reached to St. Petersburg on August 1, 1911. The Russian government devised a plan of Mongolian matter at the time. Although Russia wanted to include Outer Mongolia in its sphere of influence by supporting rebellion and using it for Russian interest, Russian government camouflaged it with this statement. From the standpoint of a mediator between Qing Empire and Mongolia, Russia will support the desire of the Mongols to maintain their independence through diplomatic channel rather than by military means, without severing Mongolian relations to their suzerainty. The Qing Emperor, without taking an obligation to protect Khalkh Mongols who seek independence and without active participation in the matter. On the other hand, statement says that Russia will support, by diplomatic rather than military means, not full independence for Mongolia, but autonomy within the Qing Empire. Mongolian nobles realized that they cannot rely on Russia's support, so they asked Bogd to issue another decree in October 1911. The decree reads, "Nothing lasts forever. The situation in Manchu China showed that the time has arrived. Now it is the high time for all the Mongols to unite and establish their own independent state, defend their religion, see an end to their suffering, and master their own rights." This decree was a decisive step, and it sparked the patriotic spirit of the Mongols in Outer Mongolia, Inner Mongolia, and other Mongolian regions like Barga, Alasha, Khukhnor, and Dargang. Bogd called out whole Mongolia to raise an army to fight against Manchu Qing oppression. A provisional government was in effect established at the time in Mongolia, and it was named a General Provisional Administrative Office for the efforts of Khalkh in November 1911. This was to serve as the temporary government. The fact that they considered the provisional government as government of Mongolia was an expression of confidence that all the Mongolians will follow this government. The provisional government ordered all 4 provinces of Khalkh to mobilize 1,000 soldiers each, and gave a secret order to raid Chinese garrison or Sando Amban guards. Consists of around 400 soldiers without fight. Franz August Larsen wrote that Mongolian soldiers successfully raided and disarmed the Manchu guards in their sleep.
Ларсен гүний одоо дурсаж ирснээр тухайн үед би бол их хүрээнд амьдарч байсан. Нэгэн орой Чинван хан дорж ирж надад энэ орой бити гэрээсээ гараарай. Ямар нэгэн дуу чимээ гарч магадгүй шүү гэсэн ийм одоо болгоомжлыг өгсөн. Би юу болох гэж байгааг мэдээгүй. Гэтэл тэр шөнө монголчууд Манжийн амбныг хамгаалж байсан 300-аас 400 орчим цэргүүдийн зэвсгийг унтж байхад нь хурааж авсан байсан гэж бичсэн байдаг. За Ларсенгүний бичсэн энэ өгүүллээс бас нэг сонин бахархмаар зүйл байдаг. Яагаад гэвэл энэ хувьсгал бол цусгүй ялсан юм аа. Энэ зэвсгийг хурааж авсны маргааш өглөө нь Монголын ард түмэн манжийн 200 гаруй жилийн дараллаас гарснаа сэрээд мэдсэн юм. Энэ бол цусгүй хувьсгал байсан юм аа гэж ингэж хэлсэн байдаг.
A Declaration of Independence was issued on December 1st, 1911, by a provisional government of Mongolia. This Declaration of Independence begins a proclamation to the Mongols, Russians, Tibetans, Chinese, and all ecclesiastical and secular commoners. It was issued in the name of Hans of the four Khalkh-Aimaks and Wans, Bizes, Gans, Zasaks, Hamp, Agram, Shanzodpa, and the Dalai Lamas. At present, we often hear that in the southern land, the Manchus and Chinese are creating disturbance and about to precipitate the fall of the Manchu state. Because our Mongolia originally had been an independent nation, after consultations, we have now decided to establish a new state based on our old tradition without the interference of others in our own rights. This declaration was issued for this. After this declaration, the influential officials of Russian imperial government suggested its Tsar or the emperor to take note of the Mongolian matter and make an appropriate decision. On the 26th of December 1911, Russian government used the term State of Mongolia in their statement about Mongolian matter. Bolstered by this statement, the Mongolian provisional government ordered all governors and officials of outer Mongolian provinces, inner Mongolian leagues, Alasha, Dergang, and Barga to banish all officials of Qing Empire out of their lands. Soon, the provisional government was resigned by the order of Bogtang, and the government of Mongolia was officially established. On the 29th of December 1911, Bogt Javtsandam Khotet was elevated to the throne as the Khan of Mongolian nation, and the name of Ikhure was changed to Nislilhure, the capital city. A national flag with Soyumb, as symbol of national liberation and independence, thus begun to fly in Ikhure.
1911 оны 12 сарын 29. Энэ бол Монгол улс дахин мэндэлсэн, дахин төрсөн, тусгаар тогтнолоо тунхагласан дэлхийд дахинд том үйл явдал болсон өдөр юм аа. Үнэхээр дэлхийн газрын зураг дээр Монгол гэсэн тэмдэглэл байхгүй улсаар 200 гаруй жил болсны дараа энэ өдөр дэлхийн зурган дээр Монгол улс гэж гарч ирэх анхны эх үндсийг тавьсан энэ өдөр юм аа.
Thus, Mongolians of Genghis Khan announced their existence to the whole world and opened new history page of an independent and sovereign nation state of their own until today.